Hey everybody, welcome back. It's Aidan again. Today I will be showing you how to edit some video clips and audio clips and to turn it into a podcast. And then Desmond later on will show you how to upload that podcast to Apple Podcasts and Spotify. So let's get going. First, you're going to want to download Adobe Premiere or buy it most likely. It's around $25 a month. That's what Desmond and I have been using to edit some of the Kinetic Transfer podcasts. $25 is a pretty good deal. There's a bunch of less robust softwares that you can get that probably do a lot of the same things that Adobe Premiere does. I'd like to describe it that we are driving a Lamborghini to the supermarket, which like kind of just the low level editing that we've been doing just to edit a podcast, because there's so many things you can do with Adobe Premiere. But I think it's a pretty easy software to use, and then there's a ton of videos out there on how to use it and some of the more advanced things. So that's what we use. Use whatever you feel comfortable with. iMovie, if you have Mac, is also awesome. So first, you're going to want to, once you download Adobe Premiere, you're going to want to create a new project. This one's named right here, how to create a podcast, and then select the folder that you want to go into. I created a folder called How to Make a Podcast. Probably should have put it in Kinetic Coins instead of Kinetic Interviews, but that's fine for now. All right, so then you click OK, and it'll pop up in a couple seconds. All right, cool. So this is one of the start screens that you'll see when you start to create your video, whatever you want to do, a podcast, anything that you want. So first of all, this is called the media browser. It's where you'll have all your clips and audio and video and everything that you kind of need. So first you're going to want to import it. So we want to go to our folder, just how to make a podcast. I have already put in 2 amazing videos of myself so that we can edit and splice them together. No one will ever say I didn't embarrass myself for Kinetic creators, because these videos are horrible. All right, so now we have the 2 videos imported. It's probably better to have a name for them instead of IMG6227 so you know what's going on, but for now that's fine. Next, what you want to do is you're going to want to drag them over to the timeline. So the timeline is where you'll be able to see all your audio and video clips together. So I'm going to drag this one over as well. 6229, please come over. There it is. All right, so now we have our 2 video clips with audio, and if we want to listen to them, blah, 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 hello, blah, 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 blah. And a little dark, and then blah, 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 everyone, blah, 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 blah. Again, 2 amazing audio clips from me. Okay, so now what we want to do is we want to cut it so it says hello everyone in a pretty fluid manner. So there's 2 things you can do to cut audio and video. In this case, it's both video and audio. So if you want to make a podcast, you really only need the audio, but I find it's easier to kind of edit with a video along as well. So there's 2 things we can do. First, we can go to where we want to cut it. So blah, 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 hello. So if you see right here, I'm going to try and let me move this out of the way. If you see right here, this is kind of like the waveform of what the audio is. So if we zoom in here, and zooming, you pull to the left, right? If you zoom in, blah, 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 hello, we can see that this area right here is kind of where it goes from blah, hello. It starts right here, right? So we know that we want to cut up to that point. And there's 2 things we can do with this. So first, we can use this little razor tool. And what razor does, it just chops it, right? So if we do this, boom, it's chopped. And then if we delete this part and move this over here, what's going to happen is it'll say, hello, blah. Right? So it just starts off with, hello, blah, hello. And then if we want to do the other part, hello, blah, blah, blah. Right? So it's about there. We want to use the razor and we chop, delete, hello, Boom. And we have me just saying hello. All right. But that is not the only way to do it. You can also use this little red tool right here. Remember exactly what it's called, but it's a pretty useful tool.
Hello.
Right. So we know we're back here. And say we don't feel like chopping it, or there's a bunch of audio tracks on top of it, and you just kind of want to isolate this specific one. So all you can do is you can use this red tool, right? And what this red tool does is that you can drag it and it closes everything off. So if we drag it to this blue line, we take off the entire first part of that audio. And we can do the same thing if we move this guy over here and drag it. Boom, and it snaps. And what you can do for snapping is you can turn off this little magnet, and it snaps. So then it snaps at the blue line. So, and then if we take a look at this audio,
Hello.
It gets the exact same result. So those are two different tools you can use to cut audio and video. For the podcasts, honestly, those two tools are the majority of what Des and I use to edit them. There's really not much else going on. Maybe in another video I can talk about some of the transitions that we use, but for now, those tools are probably 90% of what we've been doing. So the razor tool and then this red arrow thing that I don't know what to call. All right, so we have our first part. Let's drag that to the front. And now we have our second part.
Blah, 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 blah. Everyone, blah, blah.
All right, so if we zoom in again, and it zooms in towards the blue. Right, so
everyone, blah, blah.
Blue marker. Right, so then it's right there. I like using the razor tool because it's easy. You can do it right at the blue marker.
Everyone.
Boom. And then another chop. Delete that part. Delete that part. Smush it together. Let's zoom in a little bit so you can see it.
Hello, everyone. Hello, everyone.
All right, so definitely not Oscar worthy for our video, but it'll get the job done, and it's a pretty good example of just how to kind of cut and paste audio together.
Hello, everyone.
And that's honestly what we've been using for the podcast and the YouTube videos mostly. It's just kind of cutting different audio and video and then putting it all together. All right, so now that we have our amazing audio and video, let's say we want to do a podcast. So we really only need the audio. So what we can do is we can go to File, Export, Media. And what's going to pop up is the screen. And first you want to do is you want to change the output name. So right now it's saying IMG6227. Let's go to our How to Make a Podcast, and let's name it Test Podcast. All right. So it's Test Podcast now. For audio, I recommend AAC audio. It's probably the best audio that you can get, that you can export. If somebody has any better suggestions, definitely open to it. This is what Desmond and I found to be the best audio from various YouTube videos. And then what you want to do is you want to go to, you can really click any of these preset settings if you want. Hertz is always a good sample rate, and then your bit rate settings as well, 256, pretty standard. The higher you go, the higher kind of the quality will be. So thankfully, this file was super small. It's only 56 kilobytes. If you wanted some of the video and audio that we've been exporting has been megabytes. For audio, I recommend going as high as possible just because audio files are so small. For video, you probably need to stay on a little bit of the lower side in terms of quality. Maybe 480p is what we've been using for the YouTube videos, just because if you get to 720, you're looking at like 5 to 10 gigabytes of storage, which, after a while, if you do multiple YouTube videos, it starts to kind of really clog up the storage. So for audio, definitely go just as high as possible. So we're at 480, 48 kilohertz, and 320 for our bit rate. And then what you want to do is you need to click Q or export. I read or heard somewhere that don't do the Q. You can just use export, and that actually gives you better quality. So let's export it. It should only take a couple seconds. It did. All right. And now if we go to Kinetic Interviews, if we go to how to make a podcast, you're going to get two ones. One's this is an .aac. Nobody knows how to read that, so you don't have to use that. Sorry. And then you can go to test podcast. Open it up. Let's listen to it.
Hello, everyone.
There we go. All right.
Hello, everyone.
Awesome. So we have our own entire video clip that we have cut, and now that is ready to be exported to a player. So Desmond, next up, will show you how to turn just an audio file and export it onto Spotify and Apple Podcasts. So then you have a real podcast. All right. See you then.
So the first thing you're going to need to do is to sign into Simplecast and create your free account. You're just going to press up here, and it's going to take you to a screen that looks like this. If you already have a show that you've already been using, you can press import existing show. But if not, for most of you who haven't actually done a podcast before, you're going to press start from scratch. So it's going to bring you a screen that looks like this, and you can add a ton of things about your show to make it more robust. A title, a description, some show artwork, the format that you want your podcast to be in, some other details, as well as categories that you think your show fits under. So a vast number of things that can help make your show a little bit more robust and help people find it. Once you're done with that, it's going to take you to the episode page. Now, yours will be empty because you haven't posted any episodes for us. But for Kinetic creators right now, we have 3 episodes up that we want you to check out, but that's not the purpose of this video. So then after this, you're going to have to create your first episode. So you're going to go right here and click Add Episode. And it's going to take you to this page where you can name your episode title, the episode URL that's going to be produced once you put in your title, and then the audio file that you need to drop here. As well, you can number the episode, add a summary, as well as add other notes. So there are also a lot of things you can do to help personalize each episode that you put out. After making the episode, the number one most important thing that you have to remember is that you have to get your podcast on platforms where people can actually listen to it. This includes Spotify, Apple Music, iTunes, TuneIn, Google Podcasts, a variety of different platforms so people can start listening. And this page on Simplecast is the way to do that. So once you post your first episode, it's going to come up with an RSS feed. And so what you can do is you can use this RSS feed to add your podcast to these different podcasting platforms. If we click into Spotify, we can see that our podcast is already set up with Spotify. But if you didn't already have a podcast up, what would appear would be a little box in which you can put your RSS, and then that would shoot it over to Spotify, which would be able to put up your podcast. So that's just the way to distribute it and get more people listening. Finally, the analytics page gives you a little breakdown on how your podcasts are doing and how different episodes are performing. So you can see all the different platforms people are listening to, some of the top episodes, and so on. All right, everyone, thanks for listening. And now you have all the tools you need to start your own podcast, just like we did.